Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very latest CADS podcast. We're here tonight, continuing our series of talking to interesting people on Blue Sky. I'm not sure that's the official name for this series just yet, but it could well be. Tonight, I'm here talking to Doug Keith, who contacted me on Blue Sky and said, I want to chat. And I was like, then I want to chat to you. So here we are, and we're going to be talking about Tottenham, football in general, life as it goes with kids and football, and I don't know, maybe you dealing with your wife as well when the football's on, and trying to balance that because it's not always easy. Hey Doug, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I've been loving what you're doing with talking to different people on Blue Sky. It's felt like a fun little community. So this feels like a nice little accelerant of that, or way to get to know people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've been following the Pod and Podspur podcasts, which has way too many
Loosely.
pods in there. But
Totally.
yeah, we talked to Ian fairly early on, just like when I got onto Blue Sky, really. And it was just really nice to have a good vibe and talking to people and just talking to Spurs fans. I was like, just carry this on and enjoy it. And there's no money in this for me. There's nothing in it to like, I'm not chasing clicks, I'm not chasing clout because not a huge number of people watch these things, but I have fun and it's enjoyable, and I get to talk to Spurs people about Spurs things, and that's what I love spending my day doing. So why not do more of it? There will be more of these to come in the future.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I mean, without getting too far ahead, I mean, that's one of the things that I love too about, following Spurs and,
Hmm.
like these communities and talking to different people, or you just wear a Spurs hat, a jersey, you're walking around, you just get like, come on, you Spurs, random. You're just like, what the hell? Who is that? And, I'm out here like in Philly, near Philly. And so it's like, you get like, it's not like a dominant culture. It's sort of this like subculture. So whenever I
Yeah.
see it, I'm like, I see you, I recognize you. Someone else like willing to hold up a little flag. Um, so it's cool.
Yeah, there's a young guy near me who I keep seeing around. He keeps wearing a Tottenham Hotspur tracksuit from probably like 6 years ago. And he can't be more than about 18 or 19 years old. And I'm an old man now. I'm 47, and it would just feel wrong for me to stop and go, "Hey, Tottenham!" just drive along, drop the window, hello. No, I
Good.
can't do that. But I keep thinking, like, why is he wearing a Tottenham Hotspur tracksuit? Is this? Did he just find it in the bargain basement somewhere? I don't know. But
You have no
or is he just
clue.
a
I mean,
diehard fan?
like for me, like I was at like just buying groceries one day and I got out the parking lot and someone's license plate was like Harry Kane, HRY Kane. And
Perfect.
I was like, this is no, it can't like maybe it's another Harry Kane. And I was like prepared to leave. And then I saw this guy walk out and he's got a Spurs jacket on. And then it's like, of course he lives nearby. We start
Yeah.
chatting. What do you think about the season?
We are going to be friends. You have no choice now. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. No, it's cool.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little group of people around you because I mean I'm just outside Paris and there is a Paris Spurs supporters group, which I kind of dip into and out of occasionally. But I've also got my group of friends who are also Tottenham Hotspur fans, and we try to meet up on a semi-regular basis. A couple of whom are on CADS as well, so we get to talk in the podcast. So it's nice. It's,
I like that
it's
a lot.
even nicer when we're like aligned on what we're talking about, but right now they're not very happy with the manager. So can,
Yeah,
can make things a little bit difficult.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm in a few different group chats, a few different. I have like a Tottenham license plate like surrounding thing,
Uh-huh.
and my neighbor's friend is a season ticket holder, and now I'm in this big WhatsApp group with them, and like it became this like explosively divisive thing, like almost like a political thing, and
Yeah.
it was like we'd lose and be like, how can you Ange supporters even like think this is coherent? And I'd be like, you just have to understand. And we were like just shouting at each other, not really like listening. So, things have calmed down since then, but I think that's it's tough because it feels like that's pulling us apart. Obviously, if we just start winning, everyone's just gonna feel better. And it's like no one's gonna give a
Exactly.
shit. Like if Nuno was our manager still and we were winning, we'd be like, all right, whatever, fine, he's the best, sure. But like
I don't know.
But
I was having this conversation today. I was having this conversation with someone today. They were like, "Oh, when we had Conte, all of these things were happening, and we were winning more than we are currently are now." I was like, "Yeah, but the football was awful, and I didn't enjoy it." I was like, "Yes, we're not winning as much as we did under Conte, but I actually like the man in charge of my football club, and I like seeing him when he's in an interview instead of looking at it and going, "Oh, when's this going to be over? When's he going to go?" Because Conte from day one, it almost seemed like he was doing us a favor and he didn't want to be there, and it was like, "The money's great, so I'm here, and I'll be here until I'm not." And it's just like, just go, just leave and take your Chelsea link with you.
I agree. I mean, so my origin of fandom was I started watching my first game I saw live. I saw Gareth Bale's like 87th minute winner against Sunderland when it's like if Newcastle had beat Arsenal, we would have finished
Hmm.
fourth above them, Champions League. And of course they won as well. And so it was this like birth of like this glorious tragedy of Spurs. And like I like it was through a work thing with Under Armour when they were the shirt sponsor because I work in advertising and I hung out with all these Australian like psycho fans, like Tommy Silver and all these guys that were just like nuts. And so I spent a week with them like learning all this culture and I was like, okay, this is really cool. And then I was just like in it from then on. But then it was really like when I moved to New York, I joined New York Spurs, started going
Hmm.
to the Mark Flannery's and Pochettino, of course, being the manager. Like that was really like everything was clicking. I have like these incredible memories of that place going nuts. If you remember that like that one random game we beat City 2-1 with Eriksson, that goal. And it was just like everything is electric, like the highest of highs, and obviously disappointment, but like so much potential. And then it all comes crashing down with like Nuno, Mourinho, Conte. And I felt like even in those sort of like Conte and Mourinho like years or games, it was like I hate the football, agree, like for sure.
Yeah.
But but so it's like as long as we're winning, okay. Like if Kane and Son can just keep scoring off of like the two chances we create every single game when we win, then great. And if
That's
not,
exactly it, wasn't it?
as soon as it
Two
falls
chances, that's all
apart,
we need.
everything falls apart. And like there's nothing else, there's no hope. Like this is it. Like there's no other plan. And with Conte, it was like, all right, his patterns are like those are the patterns, and everyone's figured out the patterns. And I remember, watching a ton of like tactical analysis, and it's like, yep, those don't work anymore. Everyone figured it out. We don't have the Chelsea money to make, these huge purchases and do anything else. So like that's it. Whereas now I totally like big Ange fan. I love the style, I love the attitude, I love the positivity. And just everything about it feels smart. I get that we're in a transition and we're aging
Yeah.
down. We have these players that are going to get better. And even when I see like Archie Gray make a mistake, against Liverpool and get sort of like caught out. It's like, yeah, he hasn't played at the sixth position a lot this year. Like he's gonna get better. Like so, I don't know. To me, I'm generally an optimist, but with those negative managers, I couldn't feel it. Whereas now I feel it. I'm more connected. I'm watching the press conferences. I'm like excited. Um, when in a way that like, I just had to like kind of check out with Conte and Mourinho.
I think you kind of have to be part optimist to be a Spurs fan. If you weren't an optimist, or if you weren't born into it and part optimist, you would not be a Spurs fan. I mean, unless you just like misery and pain, why would you do it to yourself? Maybe if someone had sat you down and was like, "Right, Doug, this is what's going to happen. There are games, there are players who you're going to fall in love with, and you're going to think are amazing. And then every time you think it's about to go right, something terrible will happen that will just make everything feel completely awful for a little bit of time. And then it will turn around and it will look good again, just enough to drag you back in. At which point, guess what? It's going to go wrong again. So yeah,
That's
it's the
fair.
ambition. I feel that's what I love at the moment is the ambition, the end goal of what's talked about. You know, we're building towards something. Yes, these are bad times. We're having difficulties, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna be fine. We just need to trust the process. And trust the process is something we've been living with now, and we have to live with until we don't, until things change.
Yeah.
And
I
yeah.
mean, being from Philly, I remember trust the process with the Sixers for a while and it never came good. And but then at the same time, like, I've been a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFL team for a while, and
Hmm.
they were like pretty similar to Spurs. Like the last championship they won was the 60s, and they were this like perennial failure. They would choke in the big moments, could never quite get over the line. And then 2017, win the Super Bowl, just won it again. And like to me, and Jack Pitt-Brooke wrote this great athletic piece about like American fandom around Spurs and like I don't know, or like maybe there's this like American idea where we feel like we earn our fandom through the bad times. And so like
Hmm.
it's not a disincentive in a way. It's almost like, all right, if you're a real one, you're gonna stick around for this. Yeah, sure. Like anyone can hop on a bandwagon of, Chelsea, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, but it's like, are you a real enough fan to show up and, watch a game when your team is in 17th place in the league and, everything's on fire and you're starting 18-year-olds at center back they're out of position? Like,
18-year-old
so
midfielders at centre back. Yeah.
exactly. So to me, I think that, it's definitely punishing, but also, not very many teams are actually winning championships, or winning trophies every year. I worked with a Palace fan for a while, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'm not like ranking my team's performance in like silverware every year, but it's like if they do win something, it'll be the best." And now, like, they're in the FA Cup final, and
Yeah.
I down the street, my neighbor, he's like a Sunderland fan, and I'm just like, this is fantastic. Like, I think that like a lot of American culture, we sort of borrow this top six rivalry, like banter garbage, because we're like, I think we sort of pretend we like sort of try on these like I don't know, avatars of British fandom, and then, it feels stilted or forced or I don't know, just stupid. But then you talk to like someone who's a real fan of like, like I said, Sunderland and Palace. I'm like, you get it. You get like we want to watch our team. We want to it's my favorite sport, it's my favorite team. I like watching them. I
Hmm.
want to do well. I want to see them play well. I want to see these kids get better. And at the end of the year, I'm not like am I like what should I re-up my Spurs fandom? They didn't win a trophy this year. Should I like change? It's like not it. It's not the point.
Yeah, I think that is fairly important. I mean, I have met people who, oh, I was a Manchester United fan and then they weren't so good. So then I became a Man City fan and now they're really good. But, Liverpool look tempting. Yeah, I can't just pick a lane and stick to it, please. Go. Like, if you don't experience the lows, the highs aren't quite so good. I mean, admittedly, the lows have been fairly sporadic and the highs, you know, not so great. I've not seen them too often, but still, when they come along, they will be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were so close, Champions League final. That was the day of my sister's wedding, and I watched it at the wedding. And obviously, like
On the
I
phone in
a
the
lot of
corner.
no, I actually dragged in a TV to like one room, and I got a whole bunch of people. We were just sitting there watching. Obviously, it was like one of the worst games to watch,
Yeah.
both from my perspective and just objectively, it was miserable. Um, but yeah, we were that close, and we've been in finals since, and we might get into a final soon, or when this goes out, maybe we've already lost it or won it. We're not even qualified for it. So who knows?
Yeah. The joy of Tottenham Hotspur, hey?
Yeah.
So tell me about the mug you're drinking from, because I did pick this up earlier.
Oh
This is a
yeah,
blue sky from a blue sky person.
definitely. Digital Spurs, they do amazing work. This is Spurs against, Nazis, and but they have so much great stuff. I've bought a bunch of their t-shirts and things like that. They're so good and so like quick.
Yeah.
Um, and like they just pick up on all these fun trends. So, shout out to them for being great. And I'm gonna keep buying their mugs and t-shirts and hats for sure.
Yeah, I keep seeing their things pop up and people talking about them. So it's got to be something. As I said, we are not sponsored by anyone, so that is a completely organic call out for them. You get that free, guys.
Deserve it.
Okay, so obviously you said you started with Gareth Bale, right? Talk
Yeah,
me through the players that have defined your time as a Tottenham Hotspur fan.
man. I mean, that's interesting because like Bale's last season was when I started.
Yeah,
So that was really like the wilderness. And that to me, like, now I think about it with, big name players that have gone since then. That was, for a while, that was the last player that was like, he's got to move. Like, he's got to leave Tottenham. Like, and so when Bale left, obviously there was, what was it, the seven signings with all that money.
yeah,
And, I didn't like know what to grab onto. And I was like, I don't like, who are all these players? And that was sort of like a chaotic time. Tim Sherwood, and then obviously like I think it was the New Year's Day Chelsea match with Harry Kane and Pochettino where we won, what was it, 5-3. And like Kane just had so many incredible goals. Like I was at some New Year's Day parade and I dragged my like then girlfriend, now wife, into a bar so we could watch it together. And so like
mhm,
just Kane is so much of the era, and Ericsson and Deli and all those players. There's so much of what I like what I was really in love with was that team.
yeah.
Um, so it has to be them first and foremost. Obviously Son for so many of those years too, who's still here. Um, but uh but yeah, started with Bale, then the weird transition into like that like, half era and then like the Peach Pochettino years. Mostly them, maybe Son a bit, but those are the ones that, I just got so excited about. Got a Delhi jersey, got a bunch of Delhi t-shirts. He was just so fun and just like kind of like a prick, but in a good way. And
Our prick. He was our prick.
Oh, exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, my brother's an Arsenal fan, and he like was like he's such a like piece of like, and I was like, yeah, but he's ours, And if he
yeah.
was on your team, you'd love him too.
Like if you want to compare him to someone in like TV or something, he's Ted Lasso. It's a Jamie Tart from Ted Lasso. Very
Definitely,
much that kind of it. He's a prick, but he's our prick and we love him. So
absolutely.
yeah.
And just like, what was it? Was it a League Cup game that finish of at Arsenal, where that just like little dink, where just
Oh,
like
that was
casually
beautiful.
outside of his foot, and I was just like,
Yeah.
like just made it look so easy. Or obviously his Palace goal, or like his goal against Manchester United, where he just like flicks it back to himself inside the six, tight angle, like
Hmm.
buries it, like or all of these just like through ball, like 1-2 touch finishes. I don't
The
know.
passes and the assists. I mean, the he was instrumental in our win against Ajax. Just so
Absolutely.
good. You know, it's his pass that put
Absolutely.
Mura through, just like that little deft touch. He's a
Yeah.
great player. Yeah.
Maybe that's like, the sharper answer to your question. I wasn't actually really clear on how like what my answer is, but I think he really does embody so much of that, like, came from sort of an unexpected place, MK Dons, and
Mhm.
then, you know, just becomes like, one of the best attacking midfielders in the league, and then sort of crashes out and again is like nearly there but disappointing, but someone that I'm always going to have a soft spot for sure.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed to see the way his career fizzled out while he was at Spurs. I think there was a point for me where I realized he'd stopped nutmegging people. I was like, okay, this is why he's struggling because he stopped. He's lost the love of the game a little bit
Yeah.
because in every single game he would nutmeg someone. It was just waiting for that moment and then just put it through their legs, and yeah, well, Daddy's having a good one. He's fine. But he was doing it against Luka Modric in preseason friendlies and things. Yeah, this is not normal behavior. So
You think that was Mourinho? Was that like a Mourinho mentality of like keep the ball no matter what instead of like a positive Pochettino like,
yeah,
go out and play, express yourself kind of a thing? Was it that?
I think the Mourinho thing was if you make mistakes, you're likely to lose the game.
Mm.
And Pochettino's thing was, if you don't make mistakes, you're not trying.
Yeah.
So, go out there and try and win the game, try and enjoy yourself, try and, make things happen. But yeah, mistakes happen along the way, which, kind of lines up with how I feel about Ange Postecoglou, who wants you to go out and try things. He's not
I agree.
worried about mistakes being made here and there. It's,
I have a theory that different fans sort of view the team through the eyes of like a player or a manager or an
Mhm.
owner. And I think that like some people like to evaluate like, oh, we should sell that player, we should buy this player, like, football manager. I really sort of think as like if I was a player, who would I want to play for? And I love
Yeah,
positive reinforcement just like generally in my life. And like, Pochettino with his like, universal energy, whatever. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. Like I want to run through a brick wall for that guy. If someone's like, you made a mistake, like F you, I'm just like, yeah, like we're playing a game with a bouncing ball, like stuff's gonna happen. Sorry, I made a mistake. Like but I want that positive like reinforcement. I want, a manager like Ange who's like, you know, like make mistakes. It's gonna happen, but just like keep trying to play our way and I'll take the blame. Like you go out and just like do what you do best. Like that's who I want to play for. And, there's that Bergvall quote about, wanting to come to Spurs because of how they play, because of,
yeah,
they play like fun, exciting, attacking football. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I just read Ian Graham's book about Liverpool, how to win the Premier League. And he said that
yeah,
like part of the reason that Liverpool could recruit a bunch of players, in addition to all these other things and money, was that players wanted to come play for Klopp. They wanted to play attacking football. They wanted to come like play that aggressive, intense style. And I think that, that's been true for Spurs and Ange as well.
yeah. I think it's important to have a figurehead at the club that people want to latch onto.
Mm.
And I mean, I'm not Levy in, I'm not Levy out. I'm kind of Levy adjacent. I've seen Spurs under Sugar, and I've seen us go like dipping down and going down, and like the finances becoming tight, and suddenly it's like, well, there's no money in the club, and things are looking bad, and it's not great, and there's a good chance this club may not be in business in 10, 15 years unless things change. And now we've suddenly got a powerhouse of a financial model that's just working brilliantly, and still money is tight, right? Things are not easy, but I know that there is going to be a Tottenham Hotspur for my kids to be able to go and see in 20 years' time, and their kids maybe, and maybe their kids. Whereas there was a period before it did not look quite so good. And that worried me. And now there's a safe pair of hands managing the tiller. I'm quite just okay. Maybe it's not as exciting as it could be. Maybe there are things that could be improved upon, but I genuinely think that Daniel Levy is trying to do his best. He
Yeah.
just gets it wrong sometimes,
Mm.
which, is easily done. I'm
Yeah.
certainly not perfect, you know.
Yeah. I think it's so hard for there's a lot of American fans who are newer to, Spurs and it's
Mm,
really hard for us to understand like what it felt like in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. We hear stories about like how terrible these teams were and, everything that was going on with ownership and you can know that, but I do think that like some of these people I talk to who are season ticket holders, like they have that like that trauma in their body of Spurs being
yeah.
so bad that I don't have, and I'm like, I know an era where we sold Gareth Bale and then eventually turned into the Pochettino team. Like I don't, and I know like Daniel Levy as a like I only know this era where like it does like the finishes have been better and there have been a lot of good decisions that have been made and like the stadium is fantastic and all of these things are like trending in the right direction um but yeah, I do understand also why there's a lot of fans who are envious of some billionaire conglomerate Saudi
Yeah.
whatever coming in and just like dumping money in like that's
Yeah.
I get it
Yeah.
like
Dollar infused petro
yeah.
clubs. Yeah. I very much hope we stay away from that model. I really do. I think that might be the thing that kills me in terms of supporting Tottenham Hotspur, because if we go somewhere down anywhere near that path, Oh, this is going to be so hard to watch. Maybe I need to take a decade out. I don't know. But I mean, if you look back, you can just look back over the time. And we had Gareth, who's one of the regulars on The Game Is About Glory, and he's got his 90s corner on there, and he was talking about his book. And if you follow him on Blue Sky, he's always
Yeah.
talking about, oh, this match was played on this day, and every so often he puts up like highlights and things. So you're like, okay, I'm going to watch the highlights. You sit and you watch the highlights from 1996. We're Oh my God, we were so bad. And I just remember going, this is the year we're going to win the league. We've got such and such a player. You look at that defense, you go, there is no way that defense was ever going to win anything. But we were so optimistic. We believed fervently that it was going to happen. No, never. So I
Do you
hope
think that,
now we're not quite so delusional. I hope I got better in my old age, slightly more discerning.
yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, there's also just like as a kid, you're just like, why not hope? Who knows? Look at it,
Yeah.
but you get a little more cynical when you get older, like all these, again, some of these people I talk to, they're like, I've seen, this is the worst Spurs team. I don't, we can't trust them. I don't know. I'm still maybe too naive of a fan. I'm like, who knows? It could happen.
I no, I mean we had Ram and Vega in the centre of our defence for quite a long time. It's like this, it's not as bad as that. Yeah. Oh no. Who was it? The
Very-
the Wimbledon defender with Chris Perry, the rash. He was tiny, great in the air, but tiny. And he's like, this is who we're basing our defence on. Not great, not fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you probably did well to miss that and come in. And when things were starting to get good, obviously, Gareth Bale, the Pochettino years, I mean, I think the Pochettino years just hardened Spurs support for so many people. It's just solidified it. It's like, oh, had a lot of fluid fans, and like Pochettino comes in, and suddenly there's a real idea of how things are going to be done, how players are going to play, and the sense of freedom and confidence within the club. And I think it probably just made people go, oh, yeah, I'm actually going to watch this and enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was so much fun to watch, and just like, yeah, just like there was an energy about the team. There was an optimism. There was always a chance,
Mm.
and just pressing. So many like exciting things that felt like, great. And if you look at, I think it's like the 15-16 and 16-17 seasons. If you combine those points, Spurs won more points than any other team if you
Yeah,
combine those two seasons. And so it's like we were legitimately over 2 seasons the best team in the Premier League. We obviously got like Leicester and then what was it like Chelsea the next season. It's like
yeah,
you need like again one of these things Ian Graham says from How to Win the Premier League. You need a lot of luck. Like Liverpool is a great team this year. Also, Man City totally fell off. Liverpool also and Arsenal probably both have deserved to win the league a couple times if it wasn't for Man City being like, one of the best teams ever. So like they got unlucky to not win the Premier League. So I
hmm
don't know. I think that like I've been sort of diving more and more into like the analytics side of things just as like a hobbyist. And it feels like the more I learn, the more you're just like, oh yeah, sometimes the ball goes in and sometimes it doesn't. Like, and that's like actually the smartest thing you can say about like
yeah,
what happened that game. Like, yeah, we won. We created a bunch of chances. We hit the post 3 times and they scored their 3 chances, so they won 3-2. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, how many? Like, I believe in XG. I love all these things, but I'm just like sometimes ball goes in, sometimes ball doesn't go in. And so
yeah. Over here in France, there's a saying: the ball is round. Yeah,
mhm,
it's like that's the way it is. The ball is round. That's the way the game is. It just is what it is. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, as you said, there are games where if things had gone just slightly different, it could have been so much better. Like the Nottingham Forest game recently. We were so close to getting a win out of that and came away with a loss, and
absolutely.
just felt wrong. But yeah,
Absolutely. Created so many chances. I was just looking back at the like we were just I was talking with someone about like Ange's first season, and I was looking back at
Mhm.
like all of our performances, and I'd completely forgotten that second game against Arsenal in the league where we dominated. We had so many
Yeah,
chances, and they get an own goal off a corner, And then, some other like, nice goals. And like we have these incredible chances and we hit the post and we just like a header goes just wide. It's like we deserve to win that game. Like, I don't
Well, even
know.
the Arsenal game this year, our first game against Arsenal this year, like they got a goal from a corner, which they
Yeah.
shouldn't have had. It was not a corner; it was a goal kick.
Right.
And then they were just crowding in on the goalkeeper and restricting his movement. And like that's exactly what there are rules about this kind of stuff for. It's supposed to stop this, and it's not. What on earth is going on? But hey, different rules, different things. Different
Yeah.
strokes, different folks, etc.
Yeah.
It
But
just
again, but that's what makes it exciting too, is like it's a game with enough like just pure luck and variance that like, Man City isn't going to win every single game, even if they're far and away the best team in the league. Or,
yeah.
like Arsenal this year, they've chosen a very conservative style where they need to score one or two goals off their few chances, and they're getting hit with a ton of like I would say bad luck, where like their team's just scoring low percentage chances, they're getting weird red cards, and like and to me it's like the argument against a conservative approach. Like they have by far the best defense in the league, but they're not creating much because they have this sort of like they don't want to lose the ball too much. They don't want to be countered. But like Ian Graham, again, sorry, I'm like not worshiping him, but like he's a great
You
example.
like the book.
Right. So he has this great example for why you should want to be a high attacking team. He said, say Liverpool plays some terrible team and there's 6 goals scored. You'd probably guess that Liverpool won that game. If Liverpool plays a terrible team and there's 1 goal scored, you're not really sure who won. It could have gone
Yeah.
either way. So like to me, I see what we're doing as like we're building towards this high energy, high output attacking team that is gonna get really good. And until we get there, yeah, it might look terrible, but then things are gonna click. Bergvall's gonna get bigger, more experienced. Gray's gonna be able to play. Odegaard and Tell, they're like what, 18, 19 years old, both of them. Even Brennan Johnson.
Well, Odeberry is 20, Tell is 19 now. Yeah, Matisse Tell is 19.
Okay. But then like
And best friends. Best friends.
you even look at Brennan Johnson and he's like 22. And like players sort of like peak when they're 24 or like a little
Yeah.
bit older, right? Like there's a lot of room for this team to all grow together. And so I love it. I think they're on the right track. It's just, obviously an ugly league year this year.
Not been a great season, let's be fair. I think the important thing for me, and I'm not even talking about right now because we don't know what's going to happen with our current manager. Ange Postecoglou may be sticking around. Maybe if he wins the Europa League, everything is forgiven and he gets to stay for another season and finish out his contract. But at
Mm.
some point, I mean, the guy's touching 60. At some point, the guy is going to stop, right?
Yeah.
And I, the one requirement I have, the one need I have, is that we just continue in the same kind of approach.
Yeah.
Because when we went from Pochettino to Mourinho, I mean, that was an awful, awful evening. When Mourinho was appointed, I was like, this is not good, and it just hurt. And you just knew things were going to slide and fall apart at that point. And we've not really had a consistent approach for quite some time. We've chopped and changed between styles and managers, and now we've got something that the fans, when it works, seems to get behind and enjoy. And can we just try that again, please?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that like I see like little shades of a coherent strategy. Like, if
Yeah,
Johan Lange, like if he if he's actually like, Bergvall just extended his contract for, until what, 2031 or something.
2031, good lad.
Like like okay, so there's a plan. All right. Like, and I want Ange to be our manager next year. I understand a lot of people don't, and maybe he's the
Mhm.
scapegoat that like the board needs or Levy needs. I don't know. I don't understand how that decision works. But to me, like the players are the most important thing. Like obviously the style matters a lot, but if like if the club has a coherent strategy and they replace Ange with someone who's like similar, has a similar style and like is going to get the most out of the players we have, then fantastic. Like to your point about like Mourinho and Conte, what like the attitude totally changed. Conte needed a three at the
Mhm.
back with wing backs. Man United's going through that pain right now with Ruben Amorim's three at the back, and suddenly you have to change your whole recruitment approach. But then you look at like the Moneyball teams like Brighton, and it's like, yeah, we'll swap out managers every year. We'll swap out this player every year. We already know like the profile we're looking for. We know the type of manager we want. And we're just going to keep that same general style. Like, even if we have to, get rid of a manager or sell him to Chelsea for way too much money, like, we're like, that's the consistent, coherent strategy from a club level that to your point, I hope that they have. It seems like they have that a little bit. And it's not just
Seems like we're building that way, certainly.
right. Right. Like you don't all hold hands and sign a bunch of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, plus Solanke. Like you don't do that unless there's a whole strategy to go younger, to like help this team build and gel as a unit. Um, I'm sure they'd love to keep Ange for several reasons, but yeah, I hope they stay consistent with it.
Yeah, that's my hope. I mean, in terms of bringing down the age, I think it was a fairly wise move. We had players that were starting to age out.
Definitely.
However much Harry Kane meant to us and however much we loved him, the guy's what, 31 now? So coming towards the end of his career,
Yeah.
he's had so many ankle injuries. He's probably not going to be going into his mid 30s or late 30s. Eric Dyer slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
Players getting into their 30s, and you're like, okay, there's going to need to be a refresh. Uh,
Yeah.
when when the stadium was opened, Pochettino said, right, we've got the house, now we need to buy the furniture. There's painful rebuild that needs to happen, and we've been waiting for that painful, and we're going through that painful rebuild right now. I think this is the
Yeah.
painful part. This is the pain. But when I see us going from somewhere like someone like Højbjerg to Bergvall, it's like I'm on board with that idea. We can do more of that. Can I have more Bergvalls, please? Because that boy's great. He's
Definitely.
fantastic. And
Definitely. That's
then
a perfect encapsulation too. Because like
yeah,
Hoiberg is like he's a great player. Like he's above average. I think he did a lot of great things for us. He's just not mobile enough and
mhm.
not quite technical enough. And suddenly now we have like one of the best prospects at midfield at the sixth position, and he chose us. That's great.
Yeah, amazingly. How he no, not why he tried. I mean, obviously he looked at what we were trying to do and said, "Yeah, that's something I want to be part of."
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
waited. We waited 6 months for him to come along because that was
Right.
what we needed to do.
But like that's how we get these players too, is we have an approach where like Ange is gonna trust them. He's gonna put them out there
Yeah,
and play them. And like Mourinho's not doing that. Conte's not doing that. They want
no
proven
way.
winners, even if they're like 28 plus years old. And so, Bergvall like rejected Barcelona. When in the history of supporting Spurs have you ever heard of that happening? Like I haven't been around for as long as you have, but that's crazy to me. Like,
We received a lovely letter from Rivaldo once. That's all I know. But then he did go to Barcelona. He wrote a nice letter though. But yeah, no. And you look towards the future. Just look at the signings we've got coming in. I mean, this summer we've got Luka Vuskovic, who we signed, I think, when he was 16. And we've got players lined up to come in the future. Mason Melliot, who plays for St. Pat's now, he's 16 now. We're not going to see him till next January or something. It's
um,
it's going to be we're going to have a continuous drip feed of these young players coming through, and it's if it all works out nicely, which is always the hope. Oh, it's always the hope that kills you, isn't it? If these things work out nicely, we could be really competitive for a long time, having made sensible moves in the transfer market and picked up players early. And I've been calling for this kind of move for a long time.
yeah.
Long time. I've been saying like
Yeah.
every year you should take like £10 million out the transfer budget and go and buy all the best £1 million players you can find and just see how many of them come good. Just
Right.
like, okay, you're 16, 17 years old, you're doing well in the lower leagues. Here's a bunch of money, you come to us and just see how things turn out. Because 10 million for us is not a huge amount of money. We
Right.
can afford to take that risk. And the ones
Right.
that don't make it, we can probably sell on, maybe at a small loss, some of them for a profit.
Right. Right. Which is a much smarter strategy than just assuming we're going to be better at expensive transfers than every other club. And then
Or
now
which
we
we are
have,
not.
right. And then we
Yeah.
wind up with like Ndombele and Lo Celso, and like those were our big midfield signings. And it's like, yeah, that didn't work. But instead, now it's like, okay, I think there's a little bit more data around the process. There's like a little bit
Mm,
more rigor, going a bit younger. So, to your point, even if these players don't work out, maybe they get their exciting prospects for someone else, and we can sell them, if not at a profit, without a massive loss.
yeah.
Um, so again, it's like I agree. We're doing smart things. We're building. It's just not there yet. It's just
It's
not
not
there.
there yet.
Like but if you look at like Liverpool's Klopp era and Arsenal with Arteta as examples, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, like Martinelli and Saka weren't the players. I mean, Saka's probably a bad example, but like Martinelli struggled for a while. I used to love when he got the ball because I was like, there's no chance this is going in. And then suddenly, like, what was it last year? He just had this huge step up. And then everyone had this chemistry on that team and they all knew the system. They were pressing really well. Odegaard chose to stay with them. Like everyone made a jump together. They haven't
Mm.
obviously put it over the line, thankfully. But like yeah, that's the model. And then one or two little $100 million midfielders would be nice, like a Declan Rice, like that,
Yeah.
just like a layer on top of that. And I think that's what people want to see for ambition. And I would love that too, to go out and just be like, hey, that's our guy, no matter what. And we're paying whatever it takes to get him because that's the final piece.
Yeah.
But maybe we're a season or two away from that. But like, it's like this is how you start.
I think if you look at our squad at the moment, there is, or at least our starting 11, our starting 11 is pretty strong. And I know people were like, oh, they're terrible. I mean, somebody posted recently, it's the worst starting 11 I've ever seen. It's like, it absolutely is not. It could possibly, unless you've only been watching for 2 or 3 years, this could not be the worst starting 11 you've ever seen.
Yeah.
There are some very, very good players in there. But as you said, a couple of £100 million signings sprinkled into there could really make a difference.
Eventually, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Rafinha on the right wing would be nice.
oh my God, what I wouldn't do for like Nico Williams or
Oof.
you just watch. I mean, you watch that. We as we're taping this, PSG just played Arsenal yesterday, and it was like
Yeah.
you've just got I can't even pronounce his name. The Kvaratskhelia, like
Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. Yeah.
you got him, Dembele, Doué, and Barcola off the bench, like, and they're just incredible wingers. And it's like we've just been calling out for those wingers in the system. And like, yeah, to your point, if Rafinha, you get like one of these players in. I mean, maybe Odegaard can become that player. Maybe Tell
Yeah.
becomes that player, and that's the hope. But like, you know,
Maybe Mikey Moore, maybe Luca Williams Barnett comes through and just
right,
astounds us all. Those two coming through at the same time and just changing
right.
everything up. That'd be great.
That'd be
Yeah.
fantastic. And I love Brennan Johnson, and I think he adds so much to the like he gets to the back post and scores goals. He's a good finisher. That's a huge
Mm,
asset. He's also not that 1v1 specialist that's just gonna like harass their left back all game long. So, but again, it's like just if you just do these little things here and there, people could stay healthy. If you could clone Van der Ven and put something in his hamstrings so they never tear ever again,
yeah.
like we'd be in business. But
Well, I guess if you cloned Van der Ven and had three of them, you could just rotate them in and out when one gets injured. It's like you can go out for
like
4 months. That's no problem. We play another one, and then
like this
we'll just keep
plan.
that going. Yeah,
I like this plan. Yeah, we should have done that with Harry Kane's ankles too. That's a good idea.
probably. Yeah. Cloning process maybe not quite so far along at the time. Dolly the sheep was not a good football player, I understand. Yeah. Going back to Kvaratskhelia, I was quite interesting watching him last night because he looks like a Sunday League footballer who got lucky, and he plays. He's got that determination. He just runs and runs hard, but he's such a good player. He's got so much skill and ability. Like wow, he's got like the qualities and the ability of a superstar player, but the temperament of someone who got lucky and picked out on a Sunday League patch.
Incredible.
Just, this boy will run for you all day long. Uh, and
I
how
mean,
did they get
I
him so cheap?
remember he had the ball and there was three Arsenal defenders and their
Mm,
defense is incredible. And he just like not only does he try to get by him, he gets by all of them. He definitely gets
yeah,
pulled down by Timber in the box. It's definitely a penalty. And it's like But it's like he just saw a wall of players. He's like, no, I'm just gonna get by, and he did. And I mean, he's had some incredible finishes. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like the way he hits the ball. Like, but he just he kind of looks all scrappy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, no,
I could take that kind of scrappy. I could do with that at the club. I'll be
oh,
honest. Looks scrappy, but is amazing. That will be fine by me. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So what are your hopes for the future as a Spurs fan? Do you even have any? Are you just expecting more of the same?
I mean, my hopes, I have personal hopes, which is I haven't actually been to the new stadium yet. I
Neither have
haven't,
I. I keep
I
meaning to, but
haven't,
I've not got there.
I'm gonna go there this summer and do a tour, but my actual
Yeah.
hope is to, go watch a match. Like I just need to go. I need to hear that bugle in person. I need to like hear that sound of that stadium. So I need to figure out some way through work or I don't know, trips to just like get to London more often. For the
Yeah.
team, I think that like to go back to my Philadelphia Eagles, like they're one of the best run teams in the league. Like the trades
Yeah.
they pull off, like the way they draft players, everyone's just like they can't keep getting away with it. How are they so smart? And it's obviously very different because, there's salary caps and there's drafts, where the worst teams get the best players first and things like that. But I want the organization to just be like a well-run, smart organization. It's no longer a competitive advantage to use data. Everyone uses data now, but like
Yeah.
actually use it. Actually sign, like make smart signings. People that are undervalued don't just go buy some player because he's on a hot streak of finishing right now, and you're like, oh, let's get him. And then for the team, I think that like I'm so encouraged by what they're doing right now. Like, if you remember that Ben Davies quote from the Amazon documentary, he's like, "Whatever happened to just letting players develop?" Like, hell yeah! Like, let's let Bearval like and Gray and even like Udogi, Jed Spence, like if like the players that we think of as these like the more experienced players in our team, like Sar, they're still so young. Like
Yeah.
Ben is how old was he? 23, 24. Like
Vanovic 23. I think Kulusevski's only just turned 25.
right. So like these are all players that are just beginning to like turn into prime age players
Yeah.
and so to me, like I hope they stick with it. A little bit of cash infusion from the club and a few exciting, big name transfers that, for me I'd love like I said, like a 1v1 specialist, a winger. That'd be great. But listen, I'm happy watching Spurs again. I look forward to it again. Like I
Yeah.
feel connected to the club. I hope it's Ange. If it's not, I get it. I know, like, you finish that low on the table, people want a scapegoat, and I get it that like the media pressure over there must be enormous and like just so loud. Whereas over here, I don't really hear it as much, but so I don't know. I hope they just keep going with it, with the approach, playing these young kids, helping them develop, trusting them, letting them make mistakes. Like, I'll take another like, mediocre league finish. Like, let's keep building. Like, I think this is the only way Spurs have a chance of actually like winning the Premier League. Like, you can't buy your way there. You're not City or Chelsea or, Liverpool. You
Hmm.
can't you're not quite Brighton or Brentford where you're much smarter than everyone else. You're gonna, get all these players that are like Moneyball style. So like, what can you do? You can just like let a team gel and get better slowly and slowly, then add some final pieces. So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm an optimist. I think that the next 2, 3, 4 years are going to be like really fun to watch. I hope Ange is there for most of them. But I don't know. I'm just excited about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Two things keeping me going right now. First one, when the season Leicester won the league, the season before that, I think they were saved from relegation on the last day. So they went from relegation battlers to
Mm,
winning the league within the season. And then the other thing is Liverpool have just won the league. If you look at the way that people were talking about their players last season, you know, the midfielder guys, like, oh, it's a naive young midfield. They're not ready. They need to input some quality into that. And then suddenly, now they're winning the league and they're the best midfield in the league. Players like Szoboszlai have really stood up,
Um,
and we can do that, right? We can absolutely do that. Yeah, sure. As I said, I'm going to continue to delude myself as a Tottenham Hotspur fan for as long as it takes.
love it. I love it. I think it's so good.
Yeah. All right, Doug. Thank you for your time tonight. Where can everybody find you?
Oh, I'm on Blue Sky. I mean, Doug Keith, if you search that, it's DGKTH at Blue Sky or whatever that is. But
All
yeah,
right, I'll put it in the
I'll be there
description below so everyone can
posting
find you.
posting way too much positivity, and just trying to keep morale up. Cool.
We definitely need positivity in these slightly darkened times. So keep that going. I'm well happy for it. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And if you haven't already subscribed to YouTube or given us a like, we are also on pretty much every major podcasting platform nowadays. So you can give us a listen on there as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Doug. And as always, come on, you Spurs.